Hello friends, welcome to the Vikas Jain Show. Today we have Ian from UK with me. Ian has done a tremendous lot of work in Bhopal, understanding the tragedy that happened and what are the repercussions of that tragedy that happened. And I would love to ask him that when whole world is Ian talking about getting business minded and all those things, what inspired you to start working on a social cause like that?
It was after my first visit to Bhopal when I thought I knew about the incident. I was in my mid-30s when it happened. I remember it from the newspapers and the radio. Of course, no internet in 1984. And I recognized when I went there, I thought I knew about it, and I realized I didn't know anything at all about it. I learned so much in that first visit, and it started me off thinking, well, if I don't know anything about this incident that I thought I knew about, what else is around the world going on? And I start doing random searches, largely on the internet, but the internet took me to other places as well. And I found that there were so many things that had happened, past events, and importantly, current events that were still happening. And we weren't being told about them. I found that why hadn't I heard about this from the mainstream media, for example? Nobody was writing about these things. They might appear in a headline for maybe 1 or 2 days, and if you didn't happen to see that paper, you would miss it. And the same is true today. You might see it in maybe a post on Facebook or something, and then it just disappears. You never see it again. So you don't know what actually happens afterwards. And I was surprised. It's coming up as I sit here talking with Vikas. Next week is the 35th anniversary of the Bhopal Disaster, which was in 1984, and there are people still suffering. And so I learned, that a disaster, it doesn't end. For those who live there, for us, it's finished and done.
Totally understand.
So that is what started me off on that, and this is now my 6th visit in India, and I'm meeting Vikas for the first time in Delhi.
And that's my privilege. When I ask so many people, and this is for the benefit of viewers also, they always feel this dilemma that should we work on something which we are really passionate about? As for you, you started working on this issue and corporate disasters, or focus on your own business. Many people face this dilemma that should we continue to focus on. People say that these are the things that you should not pay too much attention to. So many things happens, you just ignore. So have you also faced this kind of dilemma?
Yeah, there's a difficulty here, isn't there? Because we've all got to make money to live, to buy our food, to have breakfast. As I always say to people, I've got to put breakfast on the table as well. Fortunately, I'm at the latter half of my life, shall we say, at my age at the moment. So I actually get some government support because I'm old enough to get government support. Most people are not lucky enough until they get to that age to benefit from that. So there is a dilemma. You've got to put food on the table and so on. But I also think you've got to be doing something that interests you, that excites you. Do I want to get up in the morning and do this thing that I've decided to do? If the answer is, I can't be bothered, then you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. If you say, yes, I want to do this, I want to explore more, I want to find out more about whatever it happens to be, then it's that excitement, I think, that can keep us going, and certainly keeps me going. The idea that maybe there is something that I can do. So find out what that thing is that you can do, that unique perspective that you can put on things. I'm the only Westerner who's actually worked in the clinic in Bhopal. Treating people, working with adults who survived that disaster, working with children who are being born with disabilities today. So find your unique perspective. Don't keep saying the same things that everybody else is saying, because then you're doing nothing new.
Right.
Put your own interpretation That's what people want. They want to hear you, not a book. They want to hear you, Vikas Jain or Ian Jarvis. That's what gives it that sparkle. And if you can keep that sparkle, that excitement,
Definitely.
that's what to do.
One of my favorite question, and you're already doing so well. In case you are given a year with some special power that there is no restriction of money, liability, or nothing. You just free flow. You think and it converts and it can happen. What all you want to do in that 1 year?
I would want to talk to governments, I think, because I think governments have more power than they recognize or they are accepting. Governments are the beginning entrepreneurs. Governments can be more entrepreneurial than private companies. They can risk more because it doesn't matter if they lose it. Think of all the internet was developed by government funding. Nanotechnology was developed by government funding. The race to the moon was developed by government funding. So governments have a lot of power and a lot of influence. They regulate, they inspect, they set standards. So I would want to speak to my own parliament. I would want to if possible, go around more parliaments and speak to those. Then maybe I would start speaking to the corporates. But I think there's the place to get right to the place of true influence, who can do things when they really choose to do things, to see if I can give them the will. There has to be a will to change what we're doing already. You know, who was it said, keep doing the same things and you get the same results.
Yes. Yeah, we change something.
Yeah, we need to do something differently, and I think we've got the opportunity to do it, because the one thing that we have got that will help us are things like this with the communication. We can now get messages out far more easily than we ever could when I was your age, for example, Vikas.
Yes, true. And for my last message, because it is related to one of our project named as The Real Education, what is your understanding of education, and what is the role of self-learning that you see in that bigger role of education?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a difficult question on the spot, certainly. Funnily enough, in many years ago, in one of my jobs when I was working in IT, I was saying to Vikas earlier that I worked in IT for over 30 years, and we wrote a self-instruction, a manual for teaching yourself a particular thing. So that was interesting. That was all paper-based on that days. So I think, again, it comes down to being interested in something, doesn't it? I think, and if you've got that impetus to want to learn more, then that's where you can start. And look for teachers as well. Look for the teachers that you can respect, that you can hear, you can listen to. Not the ones that are going to say, okay, 1, 2, 3, but the ones who say, well, think about this. They're the ones that stimulate your thinking, not the ones that try and tell you the way things are. I've always been a bit of a renegade in that even as a schoolboy. I think I would challenge the teacher sometimes with some interesting results. but I think we have to do that. We have to start thinking. I hate the phrase, but out of the box. Thinking widely and wisely, and read as much as you can. That's one of the things.
Wow, and
somebody made a joke, that this book, and it's how we used to download information. So books can still help, the physical books and electronic books. And it's an interesting research that says that by reading a physical book, you actually take in more than by reading it on the screen.
On the screen, definitely.
Yeah, so that's an interesting piece of research. So still do those sorts of things. Yeah.
Correct. So thanks, Ian. Thanks for being on my show and sharing so much beautiful insight with our audience. and I will look forward that you achieve your dream and whatever you want to achieve, and hopefully get an opportunity to talk to government
Thank
that
you.
you can go ahead and implement all those recommendations
Yeah.
which you want to see in the world. Thank you. Thanks again.
Okay, and thank you, Vikas, for our meeting today.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching this show. You can share your messages in the comment that what you like, what you didn't like, what are your suggestions. And if you have some specific suggestion to Ian, you can write it in the comment and we'll transfer that message to Ian. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thanks, Vikas.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.